Greetings, dear ones. This is Saturday, February 21st. This is a rescheduled event from yesterday. Unfortunately, my cable company was here and I was unable to connect to be able to do my regular Friday evolutionary revelations. So I reschedule it for today, and thank you for your patience, and hopefully you were able to join me. If not, as usual, will always be posted on my profile for as long as it's allowed, and always on my YouTube, along with the past 5 or 6 years of just about every Friday working with the collective consciousness theme and how it is reflected both in the outer world and primarily in your inner world, what you can look for, what you can do to address that and process some of those themes so that the outer world changes. Not only your personal outer world, but our collective outer world. So that will be on A Healers Universe. That's AHEALERS Universe on YouTube. And you'll find, as I said, 100 and something different videos. Please allow your innate or your intuition, your guidance to lead you to whichever image or title hits you. Which one strikes you, not through your mind because you think that one's appropriate for you, but which one causes a physical or energetic reaction. That is aside from today's. So welcome. This has been a very wonderful and challenging week at the same time for many different reasons. Those of you who have listened to any of these talks, whether it was this or Ancient Wisdom prior to this, there's always what's going on in the national and global, on the national and global stage is very, very much what we to experienced, and it's being replicated, giving us an opportunity. It's not just a trigger and catalyze, which of course it is, but to give us an opportunity. It's an invitation to explore how you experience that particular behavior, that particular wounding, that particular loss, pain, sorrow, or terrorization. And certainly those all four are in play right now. This has been a very powerful week, both astronomically and astrologically. And I'll bring forward some of those beautiful helpers in a little bit when we drop in. But the collective consciousness theme and the personal issues or pieces that were coming through in clients, colleagues, friends is truly about having been stolen that which is most precious to us, and just having been aspects of our world being stolen. And I do use that word purposefully. Taken, in the sense that even if something is dismissed or not recognized or devalued or diminished or denigrated, that is another way of taking that special, beautiful aspect of your world away. And certainly we've seen that in the attempts to take away our safety and security on a national basis. Constant moves being made, whether it's in regard to trade and economic stanchions that we've had in place for decades, if not centuries, whether it is the possibility of war with another country, which is being amped up and worked very, very strongly in multiple countries, because, as usual, throughout history, those that have benefited from war are the suppliers, are the weapons makers, are the energy developers. In this case, fossil fuels and other non-renewables, which are which feed and give the possibility for many of our different weapons. So whether it's the stealing of our safety and our security, our sense of being able to have sovereignty and say so in our country, the attack upon our ability to even voice our choice with elections, making it so much more difficult, and in some cases, nearly impossible for parts of the population to come up with and go through all of the steps and horrible, time-consuming, costly means of having to prove your name, your maiden name. So the SAVE Act is directly an attempt to take away women's right to vote, which was so hard fought and delayed for so long. We're not, I think, barely at 100 years of being able to vote. Everyone was allowed that privilege long before women. Again, whether it is the terror, it's not just barely a week where in a local protest, as a matter of fact, man was videoed, and I think it's gone pretty viral at this point, a local man who could no longer stand by and watch children living in fear and being terrorized, and came out and participated in a protest for the first time in his life. So we have that there was a Ring camera videoing children running at the from the bus stop in a neighborhood or in an apartment complex because of the potential of ICE taking people away. So as children, we are almost always in fear or terror because our little lives are so dependent upon those that have the ability to keep us safe or not, our parents. And just a preface for those who haven't heard this perspective before, although a lot of the basis of my work, the proprietary process that I've created, does lead us back to and through childhood. This isn't about merely dealing with childhood issues, getting over them, trying to manage them or control them. Quite the contrary. From the perspective of this work, your issues, wounds, experiences as a child were designed by you as a soul, and that is the map that you left yourself by which you could explore those deeper places within you, reclaiming not only your humanness or the human aspects of you that were locked into those wounds and shut behind many doors of defense and what's commonly known as resistance, but more so that in the exploration and processing, which means being able to truly feel and re-feel the experiences that we had and transmute them, even transfigure them, which is a deeper level of moving them from one end of the spectrum, our horrible experience, to its divine purpose, your soul purpose for having set that all up for yourself. and thereby being able to live in and as and through your true nature and channel the divine aspects of you from other existences, your wider self, which I refer to as your soul self. Being able to get direct communication, being able to be in union and communion and communication with everything around you. So, although it sounds like we're just dealing with childhood issues, that is the furthest from the purpose of this work, this perspective, this philosophy. And when working with clients, there is generally, I've usually seen it certainly in my own self introspection and with colleagues that I gather with and work, from one end of the spectrum to the other, from our deepest psycho-emotional, physio-energetic aspects, how this is manifesting physically, how it's showing up in our lives, our families, and then how it is also being replicated on a national and global basis. And in that, working through and working with those pieces, my colleagues and I end up experiencing different aspects of the universe that are directly related to that metamorphosis and evolution. For the universe is evolving, the galaxy, multiple galaxies, of course, our galaxy is evolving, our planet is evolving, our species is evolving, and it's doing so at in a depth and breadth and speed at which it has never been done. Not only on this planet has it never been done, but it has never been done in this way in the universe previously. By that I mean because there are so many factors that are represented, so many species that are represented, so many worlds and realms and kingdoms that are interfaced with this planet in not only land locations, but or below the earth surface and above in the stars and planets and configurations, constellations out in our immediate area and further, but also through us. We are eternal beings. We have been exploring. If you're here at this time, you have an expertise in this universe, and you have more than likely an extra expertise in this particular project, this Earth project, or at least most certainly in this galactic project, a level of this project. So I don't care if you don't ever look at anything or do anything. If you're here at this time, you are here purposefully. Your soul designed, chose, worked very hard to get here at this point in time, and to be here and to be present and to presence ultimately who you truly are. And in that process, or in that presencing, you are then creating the world in which you want to live. And those abilities to create you become much more adept, much more facile to channel them, to utilize them in your everyday world and in the larger design of this new world, this new earth, this new way that we're moving into. And I will mention and post later, there are several different courses starting up again. And one is already filled, so I'm going to open up a new group of Healing the Healer. And that's really, really learning, because a healer, and that covers a wide range of disciplines and roles whether it's nurses, doctors, therapists, healers of all sorts, massage therapists, counselors, etc., etc. They are experiencing and bringing forward and generally holding a larger portion of some of the most cutting edge aspects of this transfiguration, this evolution. And sometimes that can be in a distorted way, until such time as you explore and learn how your system works, how your system responds in any given situation with clients, patients, etc. And then you are more fully presencing yourself. Yes, you are more widely, deeply, powerfully working your chosen profession. And moreover, you are then not merely utilizing tools and methods, but creating your own. So that's upcoming, Healing for the Healer. And then also a creation and dreaming course. And we're going to be using both night dreams, day dreams, altered states of consciousness to be able to tap into our own gifts and abilities for creating. Now, in that process, there's also a level of transmuting the pieces that are showing up for you and that are generally right in line with the collective consciousness theme of the week or couple weeks. So those two are coming up, and I will post about them. And there's a third class coming up that I'll mention a little bit later. So, of course, this week, in that vein of being able to presence who you are more fully, more powerfully, more clearly, more easily, more effortlessly, more in connection and conjunction with and collaboration with and cooperation with all that is here on this planet, including all aspects of nature, animals, insects, etc., all of the non-physical beings that are in on this process with us. You have your specific people that work with you, given your chosen paths of exploration in this particular lifetime, that when transmuted, transfigured, literally dovetail with the process of metamorphosis. Metamorphosis, of course, but evolution on this planet. So you're something else. I just want everybody to really take a moment and realize that. It looks like we're in the midst of this process of destruction and terror and harm and loss and destruction, elimination of locations on the earth, etc. One of the things that came through this week was from various scientific sources how the lakes in Tibetan mountains have been diminished and how that is throwing off the climate in and of itself. A great diminishment for a wide variety of reasons, not the least of which is the massive dam that China is building. So this is the same old story throughout history. We have been going through these same patterns. It was not as visible, not as known, not as apparent in centuries past or millennia past. But now we can see, now we can know, now we have the facility of knowledge and information and witnessing what's going on and how we want to respond to that, how we want to use that to our advantage, use that as our own personal doorway to discovering more of ourselves and embodying that. So a lot of what was seen this week through clients was the many ways in which, I know it sounds strange to call it thievery, but it is, because oftentimes it was consciously done. And whether that was, in some cases that came through this past week or 10 days, actually a parent taking from a child, taking, whether it's the very food out of their mouth, so to speak, by taking the money that's available and utilizing it for their own pleasure use, whether it's gambling, spending, etc. Case in point, I have a young man that I know whose parents are constantly buying and spending money and yet have no money to repair their home. And he's living every day in a bathroom that is full of mold, does not have proper ventilation, has to leave the window open even in the coldest weather, or the room becomes, of course, very moist from the shower, and then creating more mold and not being able to have a dry environment. That's only one of the ways. In other instances, parents who give very, very little, let's say, for the household budget, and then take the rest and either gamble it away in one way or another, or spend it on their own pleasure, whether it's an affair, whether it's alcohol, a wide variety of things. So this stealing from your own children, taking the very food out of their mouths, taking their well-being. Those are very obvious and loud, so to speak, ways of taking or stealing from a child. But when a child does not have the levels of security and safety in relation to every aspect of their being, that safety and security at the very least should be physical, like we were mentioning. I have another client whose father really didn't work on a regular basis, and so the threat of losing their home, of not having enough for whatever reason, and as a very tiny child, 2 and 3, we know, not in our brains, but we know in our bodies when there is a threat to our shelter, or there's unsafeness surrounding our shelter and surrounding the food that we may or may not have. And that comes, again, this is millennia of these aspects of humanity, whether it was huge storms. We're expecting a huge storm here on the East Coast. In previous times, that meant, and even now, we're seeing a lot of dead wildlife because they were not able to access fresh water. It was frozen over for weeks. They were not able to access food because certainly the cutting down of trees, the clearing of land, more industrial growth prevents food sources. cutting them off to be into a little copse of trees where they can't go and forage farther. Birds not having resources for food and trees and berries, etc. So this is very current right now. We have the cost of food. I'm in the grocery store the other day, and people are just, I can see them, and they began chatting and commenting. The choice of what to purchase. Like, I can't purchase that. It's just everything has skyrocketed for the average person. My particular heating and electricity has gone off the charts, even though I have solar. So the greed and taking by corporate entities, by government leaders, by religious leaders as well. There's, I know of religious communities, even Christian communities that have been following and going along with what their leaders have directed them. And there isn't any money in the community because they've been channeling it off to other sources, or channeling it off to other locations or people. And it's all of this, or through the leaders' pockets. And this is a constant throughout our history. I keep mentioning the old movie Robin Hood with Errol Flynn because it has such a perfect feel of when you tune in. And I mean, it's a beautiful movie to watch and a lot of fun, but when you can truly feel and access the dynamics in there, the way the dismissal and the devaluing, and the, which goes along with our theme this week of literally, you are nothing. You are a thing that I can use for my benefit and take from and dismiss and just devalue, and as well to, I have no responsibility to you. One of the most heartbreaking to this client this week, one of the most heartbreaking things was to re-experience, currently through her sister, tapping into other instances with her father, where she's in absolute openness and raw depth of who she is, her offering to, as I said, in current day, because our current situations are, again, the map. Remember, it's a path for us to follow through to the point where we experience this most tenderly, most deeply, most profoundly as children, and in that process to be able to, as I said, transmute and transfigure it. So it took her back through moments with her father where she's offering, she's opening, she's giving, and what, even down to the very depth of her essence, is not even, it's less than not being seen or acknowledged. It is literally, that does not have any significance. It has no value, it has no purpose, it has no meaning. You are merely a thing through which I can benefit, through which I can achieve, through which I can feel powerful and strong, because this is a little weak child. And oftentimes, again, in this instance with this client, it was very planned and calculated and purposeful. In other instances, it is just this unconsciousness and unfeelingness towards the position, the plight, the experience, the feeling for that child and what they are, what they're going through, what's going on inside of them. We so often just ignore or dismiss these deep, deep, deep experiences of a child. They don't talk yet. They're not, able to really get what's going on, which is absolutely not true. Absolutely and utterly not true. And when a child is young, under 8 years old and more, they do not have filters. They do not have the protections. They do not have a means by which they can ward off and prevent these sharp, strong, painful, terrifying, infuriating, sorrow-filled experiences. It is happening in, to, and through their little bodies, their little energy fields, their little emotions, eventually their little minds, and even their little spirits. So what seems like not much of anything, he'll get over it, they don't even know what's going on. So these grave woundings, experiences are embedded then in the body, in the energy field, in the emotional body. And a child has no means of, as I said, filtering it, warding off. They have no power over these adults. They have no control surrounding their environment, surrounding their what's being decided for them, what is being chosen for them, how they are lacking or experiencing abject terror, not necessarily because the parent is attacking them, but because they are not creating the safety and security. And that can be something as seemingly simple as on a daily basis. Certain things are, the parent is not there themselves. They are overstressed. They are having to deal with so many things in their own life that they are only partially there for the child. They feed them, they get them to school, etc., but they are not tuning in and feeling and reading and doing everything possible to create that nest, that corral of safety and security, so the child can then come out and be who they are. They can then explore. They can then feel safe to speak and think and feel what they actually do. So as a result of that, we shut that down. Excuse me. So in the case of this client who, is laying herself bare in so many different instances, doing everything possible beyond her physical capability to follow what is being demanded by her father, and in this instance of opening and just trying in any way to get him to feel what he's doing, and this was as an adult, and to just not even, there's no acknowledgement, no response. There's just absolutely walked away, just walked out of the room. And it harkened back to these many, many moments of doing so in one way or another, as children do, whether it's in speaking, whether it's in their actions, whether it's in their play, whether it's in their dancing around, whether it's in what interests them. And to have this completely, it's not even dismissed, it's less than that. It's like, you are nothing. nothing to me. You are nothing that I need to respond or change what I want to do, what I find interesting, or the direction that I want to go in. So as a result, she, as everyone does, literally covered and suppressed and deeply embedded her own essence within, and covered and shielded and attempted to protect that, all unconsciously, of course. But we all do it in one way or another. Oh, my parent doesn't, and again, this isn't conscious. Oh, they don't like that. Oh, that doesn't get the response I need. Oh, that was dismissed. Oh, that was, and so we disconnect. And we have to purposefully, initially unconsciously, later even consciously, not feel, not experience aspects of us, parts of us, energetic and spiritual levels of us, because we concluded that it was either dangerous or not wanted. And that was one of the themes that came up, not wantable. That this very essence of me, this very depth of me is not wanted. It's not wantable. And in that process of shielding, suppressing, tucking way inside that essence of us, there is a separation that is created. And people talk about separation between one another, separation between us and the divine. Yes, absolutely. But this separation within ourselves, from ourselves, to ourselves, is the most severe and the most serious of all. And that's why through this proprietary process, when working with clients, they're not only reclaiming the human aspects that got put away with that, but then are able to bring that essence forth, in this case the essence. I think we spoke a couple times ago about how we disconnect from our innate, and certainly that has to go along with that suppression and shielding and covering of our essence. Disconnect from our very essence, because our innate is the voice of your soul, directly from your soul to you, guiding you, showing you, helping you, directing you. And it is your very depth of truth of you. And so as a young child, your little system is saying, oh, that's not right. That is not the way it's supposed to be. You are not supposed to be doing that to me. You of all people are not supposed to be making me feel this way. And again, remember, this is all before brain. This is the instinctive, primal, intuitive, just ideal blueprint of who we are as in human form. And so when that conclusion is made, it's like, oh my gosh, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not treating me. You're scaring me. You're making me feel so unsafe. So as a result, then we can't be hearing that constantly, day after day, year after year, for the years that we are basically locked into, trapped in that environment. So what can be done? First of all, you shut that voice down. You disconnect. Again, another separation with another part of you. And this is what we've done, is little by little separated from our true nature, our soul selves, our essence self. And we live from masks. We live from who we are really not. And we live from a very defended place, because that was the only thing we could do as a child. We could not, we had no leverage over what they did. We had no power over what was done to us or for us or not for us. And we were utterly trapped and dependent in that situation. So what do? You adjust yourself. You disconnect from those aspects of you that are either you believe causing it, or that are painful to feel when the opposite is what you are experiencing. So we create this defense system that you've heard me speak about so often. And in that, we have to come to an erroneous conclusion about who we are, about our value, about our true voice within. And we live from that and make our choices from that, whether it's choosing a job or a spouse or friends. It is based within that defense system construct of who we are and how the world works in relation to us. So, in another instance with a client this week, she, as I mentioned, was constantly under fear of whether she was going to have a home, whether the food was going to be there. So very, very quickly, very, very young, because her parents were not being responsible and really making choices or looking out for her, she then became the doer, the caretaker, the overly responsible person, and is in a constant position of checking out everyone and everything around her. What do I need to do? What do I need to be? What do I need to handle? What do I need to accomplish? What do I need to watch out for? And it's exhausting, absolutely exhausting, to live from that place. And we all do. We all do, until such time as we, again, transmute or transfigure those patterns. And then it frees up that energy. It frees up those parts of us that had to be shut down, put away, stuck in a closet within our bodies. So there's so many different ways that aspects of our little life are stolen from us, taken away. Again, it's terrible to believe, but many, many, many times, probably even most instances, people are conscious. Even if they're conscious for a split second, they are aware that what they're doing is not good for the child. But they go ahead and do it anyway, for a wide variety of reasons. Then there are those who deliberately, consciously, calculatedly, purposefully make those choices, despite what it does to a child. And we're seeing that, again, over and over again with the authoritarians, with the tyrants, with the corporations, with in all different instances, this stealing from us our very food, our air, bringing glyphosate back, that is absolutely deadly, suppressing science, changing regulations to benefit polluters, and corporate dumping and use of data centers, overuse of water and the electricity that we each are paying for. These are all large-scale forms of these experiences, these ways in which this was done to us as children. So as we personally follow our map that we left for ourselves, those paths, those opportunities, those catalysts, whether it's in our personal lives, which it always will be until such time as we transmute them, and on the larger scale, the upset, the anger, the fear, the loss. People are losing health care. People are not able to pay for their homes. They're losing their homes. They're losing their lives. They're being kidnapped. These are all large-scale replications of what tiny children experience. And as each of us do this processing, this transformation, if that's the level you can work at, transmutation, if you have the opportunity to go deeper, if you have, that's where my decades of shamanic training come in. We're working on the deepest levels of you to be able to transfigure and metamorphosize. That's why my clients literally at the end of a program, they are living a different reality. They are not, everybody talks about jumping timelines. My clients are actually living from and through a different reality. And so then therefore that's also where they are creating from. It is also where they are easily, automatically, naturally bringing forward and fomenting the societal, cultural, species-wide building blocks for our future world, whether it's creating community, whether it's actually doing the work that you love rather than what needs to be done for a paycheck. This is about living full out, who you are, full out, utterly and completely. And we have right now beautiful planetary alignments. Everything is in on this with us. I just was at a incredible lecture and meditation this morning with some colleagues, and one was doing a beautiful presentation on the current astrological positioning of Saturn and Neptune and how the blending of the two is allowing us, or helping us, guiding us, assisting us. That Neptune, that is very much about dreams and is open to everything and a new spectrum or new ways of consciousness, and connected, of course, with the oceans and dreams and whatever, going deeper in the grounded, being deeper in your grounded self. And then Saturn is like the elder she spoke about, that you live out your reward. It's the teacher. Saturn is all about integrity and patience and tenacity and endurance, which of course we have the beautiful examples of all of the Olympic athletes who are living that Saturn life, living that Saturn way all the time. Self-confidence, the ability to respond, responsibility. And then, when your ways of blending the two planets, then we have the non-judgment of Saturn and the beautiful outer expression of Neptune, self-mastery. She spoke about, doing something, you all are familiar with the 10,000 hours to become an expert. That's very much about Saturn. So we have all of this help from the constellations, from the stars, from beings in the cosmic world, if you will. And as well, we have the fire, why we're seeing a lot of sparking and a lot of flames, both destructively and positively, because the other side of fire in its destructiveness is the ability to transmute from one thing to another, from swords to plowshares. We're talking about fire is passion and excitement and life force. And we have the beautiful assistance from Chinese astrology this week of the fire horse. Again, that fire representation, and the horse, which represents power and movement, transportation, being able to go long distances that man was never able to before, being able to reach speeds that they were not able to prior to the domestication of the horse. Much of our world is described in horse power. And then we had the very, very powerful ring of fire. And it was not actually visible over any continent except for Antarctica. And that is very significant to me in and of itself, because it's at the very point of our planet where the pole is, and the energetics from a lot of other physics and science journals this week were coming in about the poles and the switching of the poles that occurs over many millennia, as a matter of fact, has done throughout the history of the planet. But again, if we're looking symbolically and metaphorically, that we are that much, it is that much of a change that we are going through, that much of an evolution. And again, Saturn and Neptune really representing that. And another beautiful representation, or another beautiful, powerful assistant this week has been what can be described as honorable courage, or the noble, courageous path of a knight. And if you've read your stories, seen your movies over the years, you know that prior to the time of Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, anyone in power, all the lords that had lands and the people who had to tend those lands, and really they could do anything with complete impunity, with absolutely no laws, no ways, no means of stopping them. If a knight, i.e. someone, a landholder lord, decided that he wanted your daughter, she was working out in the fields or with, milking the cows, and he wanted her and he wanted to have sex with her, there was nothing and no way to stop that. So there was lawlessness, immorality, complete and utter, again, that thingness. You are less than nothing. You are a thing that I can do what I want with. And that was the beauty of Camelot, is that Arthur set up an honorable structure where that was actually no longer legally accepted. It was no acceptable. acceptable. That the knights strove for generosity and beneficial actions and caretaking and honor, and choosing a noble path in any given situation. And that's how they acquired recognition, or again, even coming to see that in themselves. And then, of course, we have Mordred that comes in and completely destroys that. And again, this has been throughout history. We've had moments of enlightenment. We've had moments of renaissance when, again, this noble path, this different state of consciousness can come in. And P.S., the planets Neptune and Saturn do come in conjunction about every 35, I think she said 35 to 40 years, but not at 0 point. And this, or 0 degrees. This has not happened for over 6,000 years. So again, an inflection point, a moment of really, really massive opportunity for a raising of consciousness. Yes, but that doesn't just mean in your mind. This way of being. For me, it's even deeper than a different state of consciousness or a widened state of consciousness. We are literally evolving human nature, which is why things have to be so severe, which is why we go into that those very deepest, most tender, most raw aspects of humanness as a child and the experiences of that child. There's no other more profound, more deeply experienced, felt, seen situation. When you're an adult, you have a brain. You have some wherewithal to be able to handle something coming in. As a child, you have nothing. So that's why this work is constantly bringing us back to and through childhood wounds, so to not only reclaim, but with many of my clients who go to the root of the root, they are literally changing the DNA in their family. They are changing lineage patterns. They are changing cultural aspects of humanness. They are changing the way man treats the earth. Because in that stealing, in that taking, in that thingness, we are seeing across the board. Again, thousands of acres being, tens of thousands of acres being sold off this week. The dumping of industrial waste into our waters, the stealing of our water and our energy through data centers. It's all out there for us to see, every aspect of what we experienced as children. And when we transmute, transfigure, metamorphosize those aspects, it is going into that depth of human nature so that it will not happen again in this degree by any means. Because if we're changing human nature, we are talking about no more warring, no more taking pleasure in inflicting pain, no more thingness, whether of another, sovereignty of a country, a child, the land, the trees, the air, no more thingness. That those then come to have value and felt and experienced and choices made to protect and preserve and provide for. So these first and second chakra related psycho-emotional and physio-energetic and spiritual aspects of human nature are what we are actually changing. Human nature. That we are no longer the way we have been for tens of thousands of years. So, you see why I say, if you're here at this point in time, you are really something. You are one big soul. You are one purposeful, beautifully deeply, profoundly, purposefully exploring an aspect of this universe and taking the opportunity in its most concentrated aspects here on this planet. So this is why I always say all honor and gratitude and love for your presence here on this planet, because you are something. So we have the sun and its fiery energy and the ability to transmute from one thing into another. We have the horse with its power and ability to make large movement possible, to move large objects as well. The beautiful Budweiser horses that we all know and love. The ring of fire that is at the very top of our planet and bathing the pole in that energy. We have Saturn and Neptune, as I mentioned. We have the honorable courage and nobility of knightliness and living from that. We have the rabbit has been very present this week, and rabbits represent in my philosophy are based in Native American tribes, different Native American tribes, represents fear, and that we are moving to a level of ultimately fearlessness in being who we are, full out loud, proud, and standing up for what we want and what we do not want. So there's a couple different, I'll post later, a beautiful, beautifully written piece from someone I know on Facebook who was speaking today about standing up, about having that courage, that now is the time. What else this week? We have so many aspects of nature, so many beings in the non-visible presencing themselves. The energy from those beautiful examples of team and recognition of the work and the humanness of one another at the Olympics. It's not just of the team of your own country. They are in competitions and around one another all year long, or years, and they know each other and they congratulate each other and they're happy for one another. It's not all about winning. And the way in which different countries, all of these different athletes from a wide variety of countries get along, and their commonality rather than their differences is so visible on this Olympic stage. We're also in Aries right now. We're moving into Aries, and I'm not an astrologer, so I can't bring that in. But of course, the symbol of Aries is the longhorned ram, the sheep. And wouldn't you know that this week at the Olympics, a longhorned ram was seen going up one of the steepest runs that the skiers come down to be able to fly through the air. And he was going up, and someone filmed it. It was absolutely magnificent. So it's all around us. It's all available. Everything in this universe, everything and everyone on this planet, not just humans, every insect, every bird, everything is here on this process. and everything is available for us to connect to communicate with, to cooperate with, to collaborate with, to commune with. And that's one of the huge and beautiful benefits of clients that go through this process, that their own intuitive abilities come online so strongly that they're getting messages and information and direction all day long, as if there is a constant ticker tape, as there is, of help, of guidance, of celebration, of encouragement. It's not always about telling us what to do and where to go. Oftentimes it's just a nod. Ooh, yes, I feel you, I see you, I recognize you. And that was through the energetics after my client went through this transmutation process, and the energetics come in to answer that. It was literally even the very blades of grass, the essence within the very blades of grass were standing up and coming forth and being able to meet her, because she is now meeting and holding and moving from and living from this essence self that was so severely shut down, shielded, that she was separated from for so many decades. And again, each client going through it in their own particular way. So we have so much here for us right in this very moment. And I invite you to not shut it all down and become quiet, but to sit in your own seat within it. For it is always, every single day, we're sitting in the midst of this incredible container of all that I've mentioned and so much more. And it's mixing and churning and blending and changing and shifting and catalyzing and sparking. This is the alchemical process. This is the basis of all that goes on, certainly in the work that I do with clients, with you all here. All of this is in the mix. And to allow yourself to simply sit on your seat, in your seat, as much as you can. For that expression, to be in your seat, is something that we strive for and work for. Amidst all that is going on, without rejecting, without pushing away, without closing our eyes and consciousness and feeling to anything that is going on. For it is all purposeful, deliberate, designed by you and every other being here. It's a constant design. And let that swirl around you, not having to do anything with it, but simply sitting in your spot with yourself, with your, what I refer to as people, because everyone has their own term for their team or their helpers, and you don't even have to know them, but know that there are literally thousands around you, available to you, coming forward in any given moment, with such expertise, with such offering. One of the beautiful symbols that this amazing colleague was speaking about, the astrological offerings that we have right now, was the crocus. That the crocus is a very tiny bulb that we plant or is planted, and that it gets its signal approximately now that spring is coming, and it works its way even through the snow and ice to be able to break through so that it can bloom later on. And that endurance, that perseverance, that diligence to move through whatever seems to be presenting itself in order to bloom during the summer. It's working so hard right now. And she likened that to just be yourself. And that is most certainly the basis of all the work, all of the perspective of my work, is always to, in whatever way possible, bring you to you so that you are moving, living from your way. Not a method, not a way, your way. And yes, oftentimes it's just keep going, one step after another. But in this very moment, there is nothing you need do. There is nothing you need work or effort at. Allow the ingredients, the offerings of all sorts to be in this container, and with all of the helpers, all of the energetics. Allow to be blended, mixed, not having to see or track or know anything. All you need do is sit and sensate physically, energetically, feel emotionally if anything arises. Experience you to whatever extent you have come to claim and own this magnificent being, you. Being human and being divine. For ultimately, as those forms of separation within us, from us, are transmuted, re-embodied, allowing you freedom. Freedom in so many ways. For that is the underlying purpose, the underlying expression. Freedom. Physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, and spiritually. Constant leveling up, if you will, of more and more and more degrees of freedom. That is the purpose of everything that is going on in our world and within us. Freedom. And again, nothing you need do, nothing you need effort. Just simply allowing. Allowing for it to be done for you. Most often we are not used to experiencing things being done for us, on our behalf, for our benefit. So now those of you who are energy sensitive may experience there is another spiraling deeper of everything, and potentially you may be dropping into deeper states or altered states of consciousness. For that reason, you need not follow my words at all. It is simply a means by which the energetics are being transmitted, and to let the conscious level of you know that we are still in this process, still recording, if you will, still online. For all of your helpers are combined with not only the helpers I mentioned, and the ancients, council of intergalactic beings I've been working with for two decades at least, specifically in the evolutionary process of this planet. They are some of the managers and overseers and facilitators. For us. Again, simply sensate, simply feel, simply experience whatever. Or if you're in an altered state, you may not be experiencing much of anything, which is wonderful. For it is all going on around you, within you, for you, on your behalf, at your behest. For your individual benefit, for the collective benefit of the species, for the wider benefit of all the other many species and which includes plants and trees and insects and microbes and, yes, even viruses. Everything is here. Participating, experiencing, widening their own souls. An incredible exploratory journey. In a form that was mutually chosen and decided upon in this pyramidal structure. With these low levels of human nature. Now we have decided to change the structure. the very structure of the basis of humanity and human nature. A new age. The old forms, the old structures, the old ways have been maxed out in their ability to inform and teach. So moving from Piscean to the Aquarian age, as it was spoken of long ago. Moving from a pyramidal structure to a circular structure. All inclusive. Many of you may be experiencing energetics within you that allow you to feel more of you, more of your life, more of your individuated self. Inclusion of all of you. Which allows for inclusion of everything and everyone. On this planet, in this planet, around this planet. Inclusion of all aspects of the very universe we live in. your systems to drink in deeply. Nothing you need to do, simply allow the infusion, the assimilation of this intensely powerful energetic of inclusion. And that's being deeply anchored in your system, deeply embedded, should you so choose. Allowing you to physicalize more freedom, more inclusiveness of all parts of you, all aspects of you. Good, bad, indifferent, however they have been experienced. Inclusion of all that is going on in our world, be it apparently destructive or the most creative. All must be included. To be whole. For the all is all. And you are of the all, as the all, in the all, with the all, through the all. As you. And allowing yourself, when and as you feel to, you are welcome to stay and continue to revel in, receive the energetics within this container, within this beautiful sacred geometric container of so many different energetics. And should you so choose to move now from what was perhaps a less physical experience back to a more physical experience, please do so in your way. Recognizing that you may move back and forth or even hang sometime in the in-between, where often the most beautiful messages or sensations or ahas can occur. As always, it is your way, your timing, your pace. And just know that whenever you choose to come back and be more in consensus reality, or when you go visit these energetics again on the YouTube channel A Healer's Universe, you will be fully integrated and consolidated and embodied. For that is one of the things I am most grateful to with the huge team that I work with, is to allow for clients to be constantly worked with day and night within the Healer's Universe web, if you will. Without drawing upon one another or any individual within that huge web, but receiving exactly what you need, how you need it, when you need it. And please always let me know if you need a little hurdle help, or at any given point something's challenging in your world, so that I can make it a point to cite you in the Healer's Universe healing container. And a little more concentrated assistance will come to you. So, dear ones, please, if you would really like to explore and change your inner reality so that your outer reality changes, please reach out and we can set up some time to explore one-on-one, which is a very accelerated, very powerful, leaping process. And also look for the upcoming courses, Healing for the Healer, the Creation Dreaming into Creation course. These are both 4-month courses with the same group, so we're always deepening and widening with one another. And as always, please know that it is with the deepest, the very, very deepest of honor, gratitude, and love for your presence here on this planet at this time. Until next time.